Guys, boxing gossip coming to you live from Rome. Apologies if the camera angle isn't the steadiest. I'm actually holding my phone out in front of me, so it probably won't be. Going to keep this very, very brief because I'm uploading this straight from my mobile phone, so the memory isn't very, very good. But quick video on David Haye versus Arnold Gjergjaj. I've been able to watch the fight on YouTube. I've also been able to watch a few YouTube channels do a bit of a video on it. I watched Ultra Tech Sports coverage of it today, which was very, very entertaining, calling it Payday, not Heyday. And the fight was absolutely awful. I mean, I'd done my research on this Arnold Gjergjaj. I'd watched his fight against Denis Baktov, and as I said in that fight, Baktov had dropped him, once or twice. He had nothing to keep Baktov off him, and it was literally a comedy of errors watching him fight David Haye. A comedy of errors, David Haye dropped him in the first minute of the first round with a punch that I wasn't even sure landed on him. He dropped him later with a jab, and this Arnold Gjergjaj had no business being in the ring. Put simply, Gjergjaj would have lost to Mark Demori. Gjergjaj would have lost to Hughie Fury. He'd have lost to Gary Cornice even. This was a guy who's 22-0 or whatever it was, made a mockery of boxing. He was a real terrible opponent who offered absolutely nothing against a guy like David Haye. David Haye, for me, he continued his methodology of trying to work the jab, trying to have a look at his opponent, trying to box a bit more, I guess you could say, boxing behind the jab, throwing in with explosions. But the truth was that the levels were so vastly different between these two guys that in all honesty it didn't really matter what technique David Haye used, and this Gjergjaj had nothing to trouble David Haye whatsoever. And to be fair, it's kind of hard to make a presumption on what sort of form David Haye's in when he's fighting opponents like Demori and Gjergjaj, because they're so low level and such poor names, you can't really ascertain what kind of form David Haye's in. He certainly looked, I know he came in slightly lighter, he looked heavy in there. A lot of people have commented on his finishing. He did look slightly slappy, let's put it that way, when he was finishing. Possibly he needed to have taken a step back and thrown punches a bit more from range, longer punches rather than these cuffing shots on the inside. But, hard to really learn too much about David Haye's well-being and current status against an opponent of this nature. It looks like the Sharon Briggs fight is next up. That will provide more of a test than Demori and Gjergjaj, but barely more of a test. So, probably David Haye will be 3-0 for 2016, and we'll move into 2017 with the same doubt still over him. I've had a few of the casual fans from my life outside of YouTube contact me and say that David Haye's the master, David Haye's the killer, David Haye's the king. I'm keeping my cards close to my chest right now. What I can say is David Haye has still got something to offer. He's still got tremendous power. He's still a threat to the heavyweight division. But taking out the likes of Arnold Gjergjaj, taking out the likes of Mark Demori is not the same as fighting the top 10. And as devastating as he's looking right now, it will only be when he steps in the ring with someone in the top 10, top 20, that we can see how has his advancing years caught up with him, how has his advancing weight caught up with him, how has that period of inactivity caught up with him. And it will be interesting to see. But right now, David Haye goes marching on, and will be interesting to see what happens when he fights Mr. Briggs. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Do give this video the thumbs up. If you're new, please press subscribe.